Hey guys, welcome. I just wanted to offer up this little painting exercise that's really captures so many of the fundamental skills required for making realism paintings. We're going to paint a sphere in its cast shadow. Seems simple, but there's a lot going on here. I start with the drawing and use a series of points just to establish the shapes, size, and placement within the little canvas. This is an 8 by 10 canvas. You can use a number of tools to help you get the sphere correct, to make a circle correct. You could put a tin can on the canvas and trace around it. Another way is to make a cross through the middle of the sphere and make sure the four quadrants are equal. You could also do the same thing with a box on the outside of the sphere. Whatever it takes to get the drawing correct. This is the line that divides the light side of the sphere with the shadow side of the sphere. It's fairly critical part of the drawing, but then we're all done. There's not that much to it. The next step will be to block in the various shapes, and I'll start with the darks as usual. On an oil painting, we always start with our darks. And I decided to use to make this an orange sphere. I'm simply mixing cad yellow pale with some cadmium red. Now I'm adding in right into the wet paint on the canvas some ultramarine blue and a little bit of transparent red oxide just to darken up that shadow side a bit more. Blocking in the light side with straight cad red and quite a bit of cadmium yellow to get this nice rich saturated orange color. My paint is fairly thin at this point. I'm just using a bit of Gamsol to allow me to spread it and cover the areas a bit easier. You want to keep your paint thin in these early stages and then go thicker as you get closer to the finished painting. Once I have the two halves of the sphere blocked in, I can then begin work on blending the edge, and I'm just using a bristle brush to walk the still wet oil paint of the darks into the light side and all along this transition line. I now move on into the shadow. It's a relatively cooler gray color. It's nice to have a complementary warm cool combination with the object that's being lit and the shadow it's casting. Here on the left side of the shadow, where it becomes further away from the object, more ambient light is being cast around and bouncing into that shadow area. So it becomes a bit lighter in value and the edges become softer, and it takes on some of the warm light from the room itself, from the atmosphere itself. So you can make this further area lighter in value, a little bit warmer in temperature, and the edges will get softer and fuzzier. And there's a gradation as that of all of those features as it moves towards the occlusion zone, just where the object touches the surface and the shadow is darkest. I'm going to really darken the bottom of the sphere and almost make the point where it merges with the shadow disappear. It's really nice to keep your painting simple, and that one of the ways to do that is to keep your forms connected and have fewer numbers of shapes. So this turns it from two shapes into one shape, and it really helps that sphere sit down on the surface, so it doesn't look like it's floating in space above the tabletop. Now I'm blocking in the background, the wall behind the sphere. I just kept it simple and grabbed some yellow ochre pale and a large number 8 brush, and I'm just scratching it in there. Thought it'd be nice to keep the whole painting overall with warm tones. This is an opportunity to really refine your shape, correct the sphere. Also, you can blend some of that background, take it and drag it right into the sphere itself. So we get these nice soft edges. It's another technique to help prevent this looking like it's a piece of cardboard paper cut out with scissors and glued to your canvas. It really unifies the objects in the image. To have nice soft edges like that, that's sort of hard to tell where some of the edges begin and some of them end. The foreground is made with transparent red oxide mixed with a little bit of permelba white. And what I'm trying to do is just make it look like a piece of wood or a tabletop. To really make our sphere look like it's three-dimensional, we need 3 values. A light value, a medium value, and a dark value. And I'm on the light side now, I'm going to take the far edge closest to the light source and lighten up the value by adding a bit of white with some of my cad yellow. I've noticed my sphere is not perfectly round, so I'm going back in with the background and refining the shape, slicing off some of the corners, if you will, softening further edges. Now within the dark side, there is some reflected light coming off the table, hitting the underside of the sphere, and I'm going to pop that in at this point. When you add this reflected light, it's important to remember that every point within the shadow, within the form shadow and the cast shadow, is going to be darker in value than any point within the light side. And that's the opposite is true as well. Everything within the light will be lighter than the lightest of the darks. Here I'm adding some fully saturated color to the halftone. I think some of that got lost as I added the lighter side in. I've not really made that reflected light within the dark shadow, form shadow, pronounced enough, so I'm going back in with some of my orange and reestablishing it. I also decided that I'd like to push the darks on the form shadow a little bit deeper. So I'm adding some more ultramarine blue and transparent red oxide to the orange mixture there. That helps make the reflected light within that form shadow a little more pronounced as well. Now I'll add my highlight, a nice finishing touch, and for the rest of the painting I'll work on softening some of my edges, blending some of the transitions within the sphere, making some of the edges crisper, just overall finishing touches, putting a little bit more light on this far side to help reinforce this three-dimensional form. You can really take your time with this project and have some fun. Lots of little refinements can be made to the gradations, to the edges. I would imagine it would take you 30 to 40 minutes to complete something like this. So just enjoy it. So again, this is a wonderful exercise for both beginners and advanced painters. It really reinforces so many things that are integral to realistic painting, creating simple shapes, unifying shapes, the importance of a good drawing and accurate values. It also teaches you about edges and making gradients. There's also a bit of color mixing involved. So overall, it's just a really fun and great painting to do on an annual basis, even for yourself. You can't go wrong with it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Here's the finished project. Please subscribe and hit the like button, and I will look forward to working with you next time.